Hey friends, welcome back to She's At It Again. My name's Tanya, and we're going to attempt to do a comprehensive video on how to make chicken and dumplings. Now, keep in mind, I've already cooked the chicken. That's in a different video. That is in the one for chicken and dressing. But we're going to make the dumplings today. So what we're going to start out with is our stock pot full of bone broth. You can see the line up to here. This is a pretty big stock pot. I had this turned on low because right now I'm just going to throw some frozen peas and some fresh carrots that I just chopped up in this, let them cook. Then we're going to make our dumplings, and then we'll add it all together, and you'll see the final product in just a bit. So glad you're here, and enjoy the video. Here's our frozen peas. I'm going to put about a cup of these in there. Now, I always have to give credit to my Nana because she's the one who taught me how to make chicken and dumplings, chicken and dressing, and all things good. All things that are yummy come from Nana. But Nana did not put frozen peas in her chicken and dumplings, nor did she put carrots in there. So this is my own addition to it. So all my relatives out there quit yelling at the screen, Gladys never put that in her chicken and dumplings. I know, she didn't. But I love me some frozen peas, and I love me some carrots. So I think this is going to taste almost like a chicken pot pie. And I knew the clock would start dinging as soon as I start talking. But, all right, so all we have in here is our chicken bone broth. It was the first rendering of the chicken bone broth. In other words, the first time we cooked the chicken, so it had all the good fat and all that stuff in it. So it's got that good layer of fat on the top. We've got our peas, our carrots. I'm going to put the lid back on, and we are just simmering this on about a medium flame. So let's go over here. We're going to start making our dumplings now. Okay, back over here at the island, and seems like my lighting's not great, but I apologize for that. At least you can see the bowl. That's all that's important, that you see the bowl. All right, I'm going to get about a cup of milk and put in my little saucepan. And I'm going to use about half a stick of butter. Sorry, I'm not trying to hide that. We're just going to let this heat up to, not hot, but just warm, enough to melt the butter. And in our bowl, we're going to put about 3 cups of plain organic flour. To this, we're going to add, let me see what I have right here. I'm going to add just a little over a tablespoon of baking powder. This is my baking powder. There's nothing particularly special about this except for there's no added aluminum to it. You get some with aluminum in it. I'd probably steer clear of those if you're just trying to make better choices. Just a little over a tablespoon of baking powder. Going to put about a teaspoon of salt in here. Just to give it some flavor. Nothing worse than biting down into a bread product and going, that just tastes like a bunch of flour. So we don't want that to happen. All right, I am going to put a little bit of dried parsley in here just because I think it adds enough color to where it just gives it some interest. Not that it changes the flavor an immense amount, and I'm kind of crushing it up with my hands. that's what our mixture looks like in the bowl. You can see that. And I'm also going to add about a heaping teaspoon, when I say heaping, like almost double teaspoon, of dried sage to my broth over here, because our chicken and dressing has a lot of sage in it, and I just associate that sage flavor with holidays and holiday food, and I guess overeating to some extent. But we're adding sage to that. You don't have to, but that's just what I'm putting in it. Mix that all together. I'm going to have to show you my fun tool. I'm going to use this after a while. So we had this big giant garage sale locally. Actually, it was at the church building where we go to church. And it was to benefit people who had outstanding outstanding costs from being incarcerated. So these are people who just cannot get caught up on their bills. They're trying to do the right thing. Anyway, it's a community project, and everybody in town, in our small town, comes and donates things to this garage sale. So from the sales of it, they pay off some of their fines for them so they can kind of get ahead and get on their feet, just helping people in the community. Well, I go to this garage sale. I'm actually going back and forth to the church building, working in the kitchen, doing some stuff in there because I'm kind of in charge of keeping that in order. And I noticed this little gadget on the table. Apparently, some restaurant locally has gone out of business, and they donated all these stainless steel bowls. And don't think I wasn't drooling over those, but I don't need any more stainless steel bowls. But I did see this. Isn't this the coolest thing? It has like pizza cutters on it. There's 7 of them. Isn't that fun? And all of a sudden I thought of all these things I could make with it. But the first thing I thought was, man, that sure make cutting out dumplings a lot easier. But ideally what this tool is for is if you have one of those big giant pans of something like brownies or bar cookies or something like this, you don't even have to use mass in your head. You just spread it out and go, okay, I want 5 rows of brownies that way, and you count off 5 of these wheels, you stick them inside the pan, and you just roll it out. How fun is that? So although I did not go to shop at the garage sale, a friend of mine went. He tried to talk me into going, and then he said, I'll even pay your entry fee, which was $5 the first night. And I said, no, we've got company coming over, I can't go. So he said, is there anything that you saw that you're interested in? And he picked this up for me. So thanks, Ryan. He's my buddy. He picked this up for me. And then he told me it was my Christmas present, so I'm good with that. Okay, so we're going to cut our dumplings out with that after a while. I'm kind of excited about it. All right, we're just waiting on our butter to melt, so we'll be back in just a bit. Okay, while we're waiting on our butter to melt, I'm also going to put in a couple of ounces of cream cheese. This is just what I had left in a package in the fridge, and I need that flavor of that cream cheese in that mixture of that broth. I'm also cutting up 2 fresh mushrooms to put in this too, and I'm chopping them up super fine so nobody will freak out. You know how people are about mushrooms, but trust me, it adds a great flavor. Okay, our milk is kind of heated up and our butter's melting. And no, my Nana did not put cream cheese nor mushrooms in her dumplings. I don't remember ever seeing cream cheese in her refrigerator till I was probably grown and married. And I never tasted a mushroom until, did I say cream cheese? Yeah, never saw cream cheese in her fridge till I was grown and married. And I do not remember ever tasting a mushroom until I was probably 15 or 16 years old. I had no idea what they were. I thought they were toadstools. They growed in the grass in the yard, and frogs sat under them like an umbrella, and they were poisonous. So that's my knowledge of mushrooms until I got older. So. And then we learned how good they are to flavor things. Okay, so I'm going to make just a well in the center of this. Let me use a dry spoon to do that so I won't attach all of it to my spatula already. And we're going to pour our butter and milk mixture in here. And we can always add more flour if we need to. tilt this camera down just a bit so you can see what I'm doing here without getting it in the way of the other one. I'm not sure why I wore long sleeves other than the fact it's kind of cold today, because I will have this stuff up to my elbows. This is pretty messy. Let's take the rings off. If you need to add more liquid to this, you are welcome to add more milk, or you can always add some of the broth from the pot of it that we have simmering over there. It's a pretty wet dough, though. Now notice I'm not kneading this. I'm just pushing the dry flour into the ball of dough in the center so it can all be wet and cohesive. At this point, your mixture of chicken broth on the stove should be at a light simmer. You don't want it boiling, because sometimes it makes the dumplings fall apart. I mean, literally they fall apart and just disappear. Trust me on that one. Okay, that's pretty good and stuck together. I like the little green specks in the dumplings. For some reason, it just looks like there's more flavor to them when you have a colored speck in it. I don't know why. And these probably do have a little more flavor to them. All right, set this aside. We're going to liberally flour our countertop. Tilt this back up again. Make sure our stuff is simmering. Turn up just a bit. Okay, I cleaned my countertops a while ago with vinegar real well, so there shouldn't be an issue with anything else being on them. I'm going to turn my dough out. All right, let me get this where you can see it. Now what's going to happen is the flour on the outside of these dumplings, that's going to wind up falling off into the broth, and then what's going to happen is it's just going to make your mixture thicker. So no harm in extra flour on the outside. And we want our dumplings to be a bit fluffy, so I'm not going to roll them out super thin. I say that and then I roll them out thin every time, but I don't want like a big biscuit floating in there. That's not the kind of dumplings we're after, because that's an actual thing, but it's just not a Southern thing. I'm not sure what it is, but I know what it's not. It's not a Southern thing. Okay, here's our fun tool. See if we can get this going. Let's see. We'll just start over here. Ah, how fun is this? Ooh, Look at that. Man, I wish my Nana was around to see this because she would like playing with this. Oh my word. Look how quick that was. Just a little bit of residual left on there. Okay, let's go this direction now. I'm gonna get it a little bit skinnier. We are done cutting the dumplings. That didn't take near as long as what it normally takes me. Okay, here's the messy part. You kind of want them to all be floured up. You don't want anything sticking. Oh, now it's making my nose itch. So I'm scooting them over here into the flour, because we're going to drop these in there just a few at a time. You don't want them all sticking together in the pot. So make sure they're separated and each one coated well in flour. I'll also have to let you know today is Thanksgiving Day 2022, but we're going to release this video soon so viewers and friends like you can maybe make these for Christmas, we're hoping, because there's normally twice a year that I make chicken and dressing, chicken and dumplings, and that's Thanksgiving and Christmas. Too bad it's like 4 weeks apart from each other, because by the time Christmas rolls around, I'm excited about having it again, but I wouldn't want to have it again in January, that's for sure. I don't think I've ever had dumplings that as evenly cut as this. I mean, they're not all the same size, but they're better than what I can normally do with a pizza cutter or a knife, either one. I think my Nana always did it with a knife. Her knives were always so dull, and I thought, oh, how did she enjoy cooking as much as she did with dull knives? Because there's one thing that's going to send me out of the kitchen, and that is a dull knife. I just can't function with one. My knives have to be super sharp. But she would stand over there even with a butter knife sometime and cut those dumplings out, bless her. And she just made the best. Oh, everything she made was just so good. And she didn't think it was, of course. She always felt like she needed to apologize for making a mess in the kitchen or, you know, having way too much, because she never didn't have enough. It was always way too much, you know. Sorry there's so much. Sorry there's not any cranberry sauce or whatever. You know, sorry we ran out of deviled eggs, even though we made 145 of them. But she was the ultimate hostess, I can promise you that. All right, look at those fun dumplings. Okay, I'm gonna wash my hands just because I want to. Looks like tofu floating in there. That is not what that is. Not that tofu has a taste, because it doesn't have a taste. It just takes on the flavor of whatever you add to it. But I'm not a fan of tofu, just because of the soy. And that's all it is soy, pretty much. So it's not like it's a hidden ingredient. That's pretty much all it is. Okay, the rest should be fine in there, I think. Unless somebody gets a bite of cream cheese, but I hope it's me if anybody does. All right, I'm gonna turn that up just a tiny, tiny bit. and we'll test it out with a couple of dumplings, because what you don't want to do is stir this once you get started on it. Okay, it floated up. So see that one floating up right there? Oh, there's the other one. Okay, we're good to go. I don't want to turn up anymore. All right, we're just going to take these and drop them in there a few at a time. And I try to kind of let them dive in so they can get good and coated, but if that broth splashes up and hits your hand, it does not feel good. So I'm over here gathering up these dumplings, and we're just going to put them in the pot. If it gets to the point where it's boiling, I'm definitely turning it down. Okay, it's starting to bubble. But like I've said before, if something happens, I can always make more. That's why we're not eating Thanksgiving lunch at my neighbor's house until 3 o'clock this afternoon. It's 10:30 in the morning. I'm already making these because I don't trust myself. After I had those disappear in the pan that time, only had about 20 people waiting on them. I showed up, I went, I am so sorry. I now have a big pot of chicken broth with some chicken floating in it, and there are no dumplings. They disappeared. I don't have an explanation. That was so weird. So just because you cook doesn't mean you don't have mistakes, because trust me, I could write a book on those. Oh, those are fluffing up nicely. Okay, now don't think we're not putting chicken in this. I just had the chicken set aside, and we'll add that last. And the chicken's not really the star of the show. It's the dumplings for sure. Okay, so when I start running out of space to let these dive into a cleared off area, I have to move it around with a spoon. If these turn out to be the best dumplings I've ever made, that's going to be pretty exciting, because there's going to be like 30 people at my neighbor's house over there. I don't even know. Well, no, I think I know all of them. But they're from out of state, and they've never had like Southern food. You know, like they're bringing a ham and a turkey and stuff like that. That's not really what I'm used to, but they might not ever had chicken and dumplings and chicken and dressing before, so I don't want to turn them against it, since mine will be the only one. Okay, so just gently scoot those out of the way and drop in a few when I have a clearing. looks like there's so many dumplings in there from the top, but I can see it from the side and there's nothing from here down, so it's kind of deceiving. Okay, this is our last handful of dumplings to put in there. One of the nice things about making a big pot of dumplings is, like today, if all the dumplings are eaten up, I'm going to have a pan full of just thick broth at the bottom of this. But I can always add more dumplings later on and just add to it. It's kind of the perpetual pan of sauce that you keep adding stuff to, so nothing really ever goes to waste. I could even put pasta in it or rice or something like that and use it because all the flavor is in the broth. But it sure is good with those dumplings in it. All right, make sure I don't have anything else over here. I'm going to take this residual flour, or a little bit of it, not all of it, because some of it's kind of stuck to the counter. Take a little bit of the residual flour and just kind of sprinkle it over the top. And that'll thicken up that mixture too. All right, we're going to put the lid on this and let it simmer on low for just a while, and then we'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and our dumplings, I had to check my microphone to make sure I turned it on. Our dumplings are completely done. It really doesn't take them that long. They're just sitting here simmering, actually. And I'm going to turn that burner completely off. Try to keep the steam away from that. And this is what they look like. Now, I actually had to remove some of the broth because I noticed I'm not going to be able to fit the chicken in there. So I took about 2 cups of our liquid part out. And that can always be added back in later on once we eat this, and if I decide to make more dumplings to put in it. So we're going to add our chicken to it now. And this is just the chicken I cooked the other day. I put some of it in the dressing just a minute ago. Put the dressing in the oven. And I saved some of the smaller pieces for this. Although there's a big chunk right there. I had this in the garage refrigerator and it was on the top shelf and it's super cold. So some of it's a bit frozen. I don't want too many big giant chunks in there, but I don't mind if there's a bigger piece. I just don't want, like, you know, a whole chicken breast or something. That would look rather unappealing with the dumplings the size they are. I'm just mainly trying to break this up a bit. I'll put the lid on and the residual heat will thaw this, and then I'll come back with a spoon and just stir it into the mixture. I think it's going to be fabulous, though. I love the color of those peas and carrots in there. I think it just looks festive, if nothing else. And Zoe is down by my feet, thinking I'm going to drop something just any minute. And she's going to be the happiest schnauzer in town. rest of this and rake it in there. So that was a whole chicken. We used part of it for our dressing and part of it for our dumplings. And we let none of it go to waste, because remember, even the bones that we cooked down after making our bone broth, we put them in the Vitamix and pureed them to use as doggy treats. I put them in ice cube trays and individual cubes, and then I let them thaw and add to the dog's food at night, just for a treat. Okay, so that's that part. We'll come back in just a minute when it gets all thawed out, and I'm going to stir it in and let you see our final product. Okay, so here's the final look at our chicken and dumplings. As you can see, there's plenty of chicken in there. And you know what? If I had it to do over again, I'd probably add another cup of flour and more ingredients for the dumplings, make more dumplings, but I don't know that my pan would fit it. So I have to be able to take these where I need to go today, so I don't want it extra full. But this will be fine, and we'll have broth left over. We'll add more dumplings to it later on. So that's the beauty of making chicken and dumplings. It just keeps going till it's all gone. So I think it's gonna be good. All right, we have our dressing in the oven. I'm gonna finish that, so it's gonna be a yummy meal today. We look forward to getting together with everybody for this Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoyed this video, but I hope more than anything, you give this a try, make this for your holiday season, whatever that holiday might be, and I hope everybody is encouraged by the way you show love by feeding people, because that's what I do. I'm a cook by nature, but it's no fun to do it unless you have people to share it with. So thank you as always for joining us. We look forward to sharing something again with you real soon. See ya.